startups. Today we have a big fish who's presenting to us. Is in the name of Dr. Mustafa Ayo. Let me quickly go through the profile of Dr. Mustafa Ayo. He's a developmental innovation and knowledge enterprise person. He has held positions such as chairman, monitoring and evaluation committee, presidential implementation committee on technology transfer. He's been country manager. He's been national project manager for the Nigeria COVID-19 Research Coalition. He holds an honorary doctorate in project management from Commonwealth University and London Graduate School, and is a founder and executive director of Research for Impact, Knowledge Economy, and Sustainable Development. He's the founder of Global Impact Leads, R2E Global. So today we have him. Let's welcome him to our meeting as he presents to us. So you have like 20 to 30 minutes to give us presentation, and then we can ask people to make comments or ask questions. So you are welcome, Dr. Mustafa Ayo.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, sure. Very, very clear.
Okay, great. Can I share my slide?
Yeah, sure. Can share a slide.
For a minute, please.
Sir, do you have any challenge sharing the slide?
No, just wait a minute, please. I think the system is actually just running some short updates, so that's fine. I should be fine in a minute. What is the problem? Also, I see my slide now. Hello, can you see my slide?
Can see your slide now. Can see it now.
Okay, so thank you so much, and I think I'm glad to be here today. I think the introduction has been done, and I've actually used about a few minutes to get myself together. I'll be very prudent with the time to stop at around 25 to 30 minutes that I have. Once again, let me welcome everybody on this call today, and it's a great privilege to be on the Global Innovation Platform. I still believe very well that I'm part of the advisory board of Okolo, so maybe that's the part of the introduction that was not mentioned. But more importantly, it's home for me, and I can say partly some of my PhD work was done at OAU, so I'm feeling at home speaking on this particular topic. But essentially, I'll be speaking from the upstream perspective of research as a service, because that's kind of organization that I run now. I'm actually been privileged to look at impact we can derive from research, and how we can actually create a knowledge economy across our continent, and at the same time, tying it up to sustainable development, so that on this note, this time around, we are not going to be missing the way we have missed the MDGs. So we are more than 50% into SDG, and I begin to check what have we been able to achieve. So by the way, what I'm expected to speak on today is navigating funding opportunities for academic startups. And by my way of section management, I'll just take you through some of the background information I need to share with you. Then go by way of introduction, look at the academic startup at a glance, and try as much as possible to localize the knowledge so that people will really understand where we are coming from and what we are trying to do, maybe differently. Then at the same time, I'm going to see if I can actually share some case study with us. So I think that will be fine. So then essentially, I'll close it up by some of my conclusive remarks, and that will be everything for today. So again, thank you so much. And by way of background, I believe that all of us realize that on Nigerian soil alone, we have about 1,000 academic campuses, and that has been the largest in Africa, because I'm sure of the number. When you look at the database of NUC, you can see the number of universities in excess of 200 presently, and when you look at other regulators like MBTE, the campuses they are regulating is over 700. Put that together will give you in excess of 1,000. And in Nigeria University, we have a minimum as of today of nothing less than 2 million students. And those 2 million students on annual basis, that is a conservative average anyway. Those people are actually expected to undergo research work. And that research work is important for them to be a graduate. And for me, it is important that every 5-year cycle, either people are actually graduating or they have some challenges. You are putting nothing less than 2 million research paper or research activity on the desk. So we believe that every 5 years, which is an average of the time people use in school, be it in sciences or any other courses that you are doing, you're going to see people conducting research, and definitely thesis will be prepared under the typical supervision of the project supervisors. And when that one is done, we know that it is not a choice, and it is being done across the different faculties. So this is not about only science. We are talking about art, social sciences, and other complementary courses, including diplomas. So fundamentally, there's a requirement for you to actually undergo a research. No matter the way you define the research, which is not the subject of today or the research time, it is important that we know that we have some deliverables of nothing less than 2 million research work. Maybe they are quality, maybe they are not quality. That's another thing entirely. But there are efforts in making sure that there are new outcomes, and these deliverables have become an annual ritual that we need to do for people to actually get their degree. So looking at the numbers of students we have, looking at the cycle of every year, every 5 years, and look at what they need to do per annum and the numbers that are coming and going out, then we are clear about an effort of nothing less than 2 million research and innovation work that are being outcomed on an annual basis. So, and majority of these things supposed to actually end up as an academic startup, but that might not be the case. And in essence, we have those potentials, but we have actually not converted those potentials into kinetic energy that can catalyze the kind of economy that we want to see. So with the trending of Nigeria around GDP around 500 billion US dollar. So the GDP per capita of Nigeria is abysmally low. When you look at a conservative figure being put at around 2,450 US dollar as of 2022, compared to countries that have $82,000 GDP per capita. And when you look at it very well, where are the issues? Is it about having the numbers or about making sure that the numbers are actually useful for all of us? So what we have realized is that we have a potential to do a lot of changes, and the backbone of many of this economy that actually do the needful in increasing their GDP per capita lies in research and innovation. So, and again, when you look at research and innovation, it becomes the backbone of academic startups. So looking at Agenda 2063 of the African Union, 1% was set as a target for African countries to be committed into R&D spending on an annual basis. So in Nigerian case, it will be trending around 5 billion US dollars. So as of today, if you are looking at a conservative figure of 1,500, then definitely you are going to be looking at about 7.5 trillion naira that are supposed to be committed to research funding on an annual basis. 5 billion naira on an annual basis as such, the last check of the last NRF, or the commitment that the executive secretary and the team have actually made this year. So you look at the total amount that will be available for different level of NRF that is being done in academic campuses, particularly in the public space, because this fund of the NRF is not covering the private university. So in totality, you are talking about 2.6 million US dollar compared to 5 billion US dollars. So don't ask us where are the gaps. Why is it that Nigeria is not where it's supposed to be? Why are you not having academic startups? Why are you not having why are you not having industrial parking? Or maybe we are not saying how we need to take things very, very serious. When you talk about befalling your dollar, you talk about people not having things to do, unemployment, you have that are supposed to academia and other spaces, I mean, within the ecosystem of RDI in any country, you are expected to do 5 billion, you are doing 2.6 million. So, I mean, the rest will actually be history. However, there's an official expenditure that goes on every year. That is the graduating students who essentially go out of their way to go and look for money to deliver on their projects. It might be surprising to you that when you look at a cumulative average of just say like 100,000 being used by these students to deliver on this research work on an annual basis, to prepare their thesis and to conduct the field work and get it written. So we are committing nothing less than about 1.5 million US dollar. So you could see that that is just what government is doing around what R&D is about just 2% or less than 2% of what is even being done unofficially. However, the issue is that have we been accounting for value for money, because you can only do that when that particular funding, either in official window or the unofficial window, actually translate to academic startups. So that is why you can actually ask for money. And for me, at a glance, you could look at academic startups from different perspectives. But for us at RIKSD, we are very clear about what are the fundamentals. So for you to have an academic startup, you need to rethink your academic research projects. And it is not going to be normal again. We need to actually do some dynamic thinking. You need to do some critical thinking. You need to do some system thinking. So for us to actually get into that, our approach is very clear. And we know that each project thesis is divided into 5 in many universities, or it could be 6. You are talking about going to be the introduction, the literature review, your methodology or methods that was being used, and you can actually go to your result, the discussion and conclusion. However, in the new rethinking, for us to actually have some academic startups, then definitely that approach will be changing. And that's why you're actually looking at this at a glance. What should be the rethinking look like? So first and foremost, you must be talking about the citizen research. So citizen research is something that I discussed with them at Unibank just about 2 weeks ago at the 4th annual Research Day celebration of University of Benin, which was actually a core topic for you to understand that even in the US, there's a special desk for citizen science, which is actually being recognized by the government of the United States. But here, we play around it and we don't even know that that is where we're supposed to actually be generating our hypothesis to be tested. So for us, for you to have a new rethink and have academic startup at RIKESD, it is a clear belief that based on best practices, you need to actually engage in citizen research. That's a topic on its own we can discuss at any other forum, and I think that's important for OAU and other universities. Like you're actually looking towards launching the first citizen research platform at University of Benin so that people can really understand why do you need to go into the communities, why do you need to go to society to actually craft your research topic on a daily basis and how to get that one done. So in the design of projects, it must be impact focused, and at the same time, for you to have an academic startup, your problem statement must actually be solution fit. So if you don't have a problem solution fit when you're actually talking about the design of your work, then definitely it's not going to give you the academic startup that you will actually be proud of or you can actually make any sense out of. Then it is important for you to actually go into the solution modeling, because whatever you are doing should actually be contributing a social impact or a business impact or commercial impact, as the case may be. And then when you have the solution, is it market fit? Those are tests that you need to do. And you need to actually create and craft a traction model for you to know that what you are bringing to the table is actually uniquely valued. So all these things are very important in the new thinking of how our academic project should look like. And when you are done with that, the next stage is for you to look at the market and see customer fit or consumer fit, as the case may be, because you could actually be creating products that customers will uptake and pay, or consumers or the society are going to actually benefit by using, and you get a value for it through other secondary purposes. Then again, what do we call today that in sciences, we could actually be doing some prototype and engineering. But what happens in those social sciences and art, it is important for you to know that you need to sandbox whatever you have brought on board and for you to finally have a minimum viable product. So what is expected as the minimum outcome of your research endeavor for you to actually lead yourself from where you are now and move to academic startup as endpoint of your research endeavor is a minimum viable product, not a prototype. And that's been the mistake we have been making. So when you look at the funding navigator that we are crafted at RIKESD, we are glad to share with you some of these opportunities that actually you could leverage for funding of academic startups. The first one we know and is for sure is for you to bootstrap. And I think that one works for many of the students that are actually undergoing their thesis writing on a daily basis, on a yearly basis. And we see that many of the institutions are supposed to have a seed fund. That is the seeding. You use that one like a challenge fund for people that are actually looking at creating ventures to go ahead and look at what you are doing and they compete for a minimum amount. In my own universities, and my own university in the US, where I'm a visiting professor, so what we've tried to do is to actually have a minimum of $5,000 that we compete for on an annual basis. And as a research team, so that's supposed to be part of what universities like OAU and other universities should have, not only leveraging on TED Fund. And when you have been able to do your seeding, then the next thing is actually to have your outcome, the data that is being generated, which are primary data, for you to be able to apply for a bigger grant. So when you have won like $5,000 in my university, you use that particular 5,000 to do preliminary work and validate some hypothesis. And the moment that one is clear from the designing, like I mentioned initially, you should be looking at a good grant that is going to be bigger, that is going to be of benefit to you and benefit to the institution. Ab initio, you know that in that place it is tenure tracked, and some of the research professors are actually living on grants, not on salary, and that is the difference. So And in the design of all of this, for people to actually support you with grants, the social and the social benefits and the commercial benefits will be highly clear, and they can actually see from the beginning at what point are you going to actually turn this particular endeavor into a minimum viable product that can actually progress into eventual development. So other windows that you could actually consider that you can navigate for academic research, academic startup is agile investment. I think there was a time Apollo is talking about that and a couple of them. Yes, we don't have enough in Nigeria and the people really does not understand it. That's another topic that might actually be important for us to talk about. And then you have the venture capital. A lot of them are coming to Nigeria. Unfortunately, they are being misused in such a way that many of the startups that we have that have benefited in this, we have a great number of them that are closing up. So that's going to be another topic. Why is it that people get all this venture capital into the economy, we celebrate them, and 2 years down the line, they're actually closing down? So, I mean, it means some things are wrong with the models, and I'm actually going to speak to that in a GV. So we actually see an opportunity for academic startup to be funded through partnerships. You can actually have the technology and you have somebody that has the fund. People can actually do some private placement in what we are doing. And again, you could actually leverage development funding. A lot of them, Development Bank of Nigeria, Bank of Industry, some of them, because when you get to a stage and you think you cannot handle it all alone in terms of scaling, then definitely financing and capitalizing becomes important. But don't go to a commercial financing without passing through development financing. We do that a lot in Nigeria. We make a lot of mistakes because we jumped the gun and then we fell into the well. So public offering is another option. There was a time I was working and I need to actually speak to them at a stock exchange, and they are really happy to actually do some work with us. Then what is new that we need to be clear about is the impact investment. That's part of our stronghold at SD. We are looking at impact investment and see how we can actually drive that. Finally, is the alumni funding. Again, I painted it red because that is an untapped resources. For this country, we don't know anything much about endowment for either individual or for professorship seats or for academia. And these are kind of funding that we use in other countries, particularly in the US. I mean, the industrial park in my own university, Research, Innovation and Industrial Park, was being funded by the alumni who are actually being, I mean, it's presently or formerly, it was in the lot of startups were there, including manufacturing of vehicles, drones, and a lot of them. So that might be another thing that we need to actually discuss and see how we want to unlock that opportunity. Let me quickly go, because of my time, to case study. I think I have like pretty much maybe 5-10 minutes to go. And my case study is for us to actually look at our innovative pentagonal nexus, which is a structure that supports the development of academia or academic startups. What we used to know is triple helix, and people are actually building a lot of things, and that's why you see those helix are actually here. But we miss many of the fundamentals when we are designing our project by not having two other critical stakeholders in mind or on the desk so that we can discuss this together. Remember, I mentioned from the beginning, when your design is having problem, you cannot design something that is meant to end up as a publication, and you actually want to, at a point in time, change that publication overnight to an enterprise. So that's my point. So, but on the design from the beginning is looking at a startup, then the approach will be different. And actually, I think I've shared with you what the approach should look like. So for us at RIKESD, rethinking the whole process based on our experiences on the field and talking with people across the world, we come up with what we call the G-curve. The G-curve is a pentagonal nexus. What you have and you are used to is our helices. Those are triple helices. They are in helices, but they are not talking together. But in this, yes, we have the government, we have the industry, and then we have the academia. That is what we are used to as a triple helix. So here we are actually mainstreaming the community. What does community mean? It does not mean that it's going to be a physical geography. It could actually be an online geography. You take the solution, because when I was talking about solution market, And I was talking about a market customer fit. I'm talking about taking it to the community. So we need to have the community. And remember, I mentioned the issue of citizen research the other time. This is critical for us to actually have projects that we end up as an academic startup. And the other critical stakeholder that we need to have here is the funders. So many projects we design it and we get to a point and we say, hey, where do we get the funding for this project? Beautiful project, people have burnt candles, they have sleepless nights, but nobody is thinking about funding. So in the Pentagonal Nexus, for our design of any project, either local, because we actually aim for contract research and we do a lot of work on other things, including academia, industry, mobility, Skinnovate, Pan-Africa, circular hotspot, where we are building circularity to systems, public and private institution, and the other things that we do, then definitely we hold very strong the issue of GCAP, which is an innovative Pentagonal Nexus. We are proud to say that at least we are the first to actually innovate this, and we are actually working with it, and we are taking it to 55 African. We're talking about is RIKESD, which is a knowledge enterprise incubation and acceleration program. It's it's a specially designed platform for the commoditization or commodification of knowledge outcomes. So we're actually having some intangibles that we can actually change to tangibles, and we are glad to have our first call on this particular special innovation platform. We are thinking of how can we take all those mistakes of the past and correct them. Now, do I mean? A lot of professors and researchers have done a lot of beautiful work that has ended up in publication. So the impact they are actually talking about now is about citation. So many a time people does not understand that having publication and a lot of citation, you're actually talking to people in your own community. So the numbers of users definitely are going to be the new metrics for us to measure. So we are taking research to the social media in the future, and that has actually been acknowledged by nature, where it is the user, end users, and the people that are beneficiary of your research outcome that will be rating the researcher. And that is the future, and we need to actually get ready. So in that context, so we look at a solution whereby we will actually convert some of the theses that we have on ground by the researchers, and we can actually take them through a lot of a pipeline and then navigate them and make them to have MVPs and ventures as the outcome. So what are we doing differently? This model can actually be used for a new project or a project that has actually resulted into thesis already. So we expect you to actually go through this, and we have nothing less than 8 stages. Ideation is there, and we mentioned modeling. We're actually going to be running some acceleration, scaling, and one thing that is important, experimentation, which is key. People think business has no part or component of science. Now we have brought science to business, which is another platform that we're actually leading in Nigeria after our B2B 2015 to 2021. 2022 to date, we've run nothing less than 26 sessions of science, technology, innovation to business. How do we actually have handshake between the faculties of sciences, faculty of engineering, and the business school on our campuses? I mean, it's amazing if we could actually do the needful. So for you to create academic startup, we believe all this process must actually be allowed. And then when you are talking about only funding as of today, you're actually talking about capitalize. And it's important for you to know that you need to actually take any project through ideation, modeling, acceleration, scaling, experimentation, incubation before you can capitalize. So I'm talking about navigating the funding today, but I want to believe that people have actually spoken about the rest before you can actually go into this. And when you launch, we expect that this first scale, okay, so don't let me go into scaling because I'll be querying why scaling here. Yeah, there's first scale and then there's going to be another scale at the end of the day after your launch. So this was actually launched, and we will actually see how people can be part of what we are doing. Looking at this particular link, you can copy it, and we are already getting people on board, and we are doing this across Africa. We are targeting the 55 African countries, and we will actually have a competitive exchange of knowledge across our continent and take some of these solutions that we are having as an output of our engagement into a business validation and enterprise development pipelines. I'll conclude, sorry, because of my time. I think my time is up. I have like 3 minutes, if I'm correct. For this engagement today, I will have this exit highlights.
You can take more time. Sorry, you can take more time to conclude. You can take more time to finish.
What do you say?
Please.
Okay, thank you so much. So in conclusion, I have this academic exit. I have this exit highlights. The first one is first, academic startups are intrinsic part of the community development triad of an ideal university. Because I'm speaking to a university, that's what I'm actually leveraging and I'm making case study for university. The first one I'm talking about here is traditionally and historically, university systems are actually standing on 3 triads. The first one is research and development. That is historically. Today is supposed to be research for development, and in the future, from 21st century and ahead, it is research and innovation for development. R for high and D. So definitely that is where we are in other parts of the world, and I hope any Nigerian university will understand the difference between R and D, R for D, and RD for high. And definitely they are not exactly the same thing. The conceptual framework are not the same thing. And I hope for you to start having academic startups in multitude and in number, you need to actually move to RDI phase, not R&D, not only R for D, but RDI. The era of full autonomy being granted by the Nigerian government of recent to the university, and the upcoming constitution, reconstitution of their governing council, will require a system rethinking if academic startups are going to be some of the target of our endpoint of our activities on the university. And we don't have any other option rather than to do that. A case study in mind, undergraduate in my own university, or let me say partly my university that hosted me in the US again, that created a product that can actually assist you in changing the color of your water. And we've known that when you are working, there is a connection between the color you are used to and how your system gets energized. So that is in a spectral imaging system, and they will know, based on that particular principle of physics, they develop something that can actually put inside the water and that can actually change color, your drinking water and stuff like that. Each item goes for like I think it was developed at the rate of about 5 cents, and we're actually selling at $1 per one. And within 2 years, it was sold in 17 countries across the world. And when these students were in 200 level of year 2, that was when it was developed. As at the time they actually graduating from the university, these students have worth more than $17 million US. So as they were undergoing the graduate work, university needs to actually open a firm or a company that is actually looking at the finances for these people, and they are automatically being on scholarship, and they don't realize that they're actually millionaires until when they graduate. Because what the university is interested in is that you have done this, is already in the market. What's going to be the next thing? So they don't expose them to the money. They really get them back to the workshop and to say, this is where you are, can't this device do other things? Remember, so before they left the university, the product has actually been developed from one version to the other, and I think by now we should have about version 5 of that particular. And as the version is increasing, that is innovation for you in practical terms. Definitely the prices are increasing from $1 to $1.20, like that. Today, they are big boys, unknowingly to them, and they have a company in the university premises. On the university premises, they have their workshop. And that particular hub has become so big that we need to transfer it from the university laboratory to the university research development and innovation park, where the post-PhD students are having opportunity to develop their thesis into venture. Let me move on to say, definitely, for you to talk about a value for money, then definitely RBI is going to be, to the future, funding RBI we actually require value for money. We need to be accountable. That's my point here. The value for money for what the students are committing to research work on an annual basis to graduate from institutions. We need to actually make sure that that value, that expenditure, we have a value for it, and that value can actually make social impact. In the future, it will be very difficult for institutions to be requesting for grants if you cannot show what you have been able to do with the one that you have received. So the value for money is central to the future of funding of RBI. I hope one day the National Assembly, even in Nigeria, will challenge TED Fund to say, come and show us what you have been doing. I know I was there briefly, 2019 to 2022, if I'm correct, about 18 months. And then we made it clear to them that the way to go is to actually have a tracking process where we could know in infographics terms, what have we been able to deliver based on the NRF? I don't think that has been done to date. And I hope question will not be asked very soon. Navigating funding for academic startup is, is environment specific. I'm not talking about a model that can only work in Africa or that can only work in the US or Europe. That's why personally, I took it up as a challenge to establish research for impact, knowledge economy, and sustainable development, RIKSD, which was launched September 5th, 2023. We are less than 1 year, and I can tell you that at least we are not doing badly. So we've signed our agreement, and we have come up with nothing less than 5 programs that is going to be Pan-African in scope. And our target is to be in 5 African countries with solutions this year. And in the next 5 years, we're going to have our footprint in the 54 African countries. And by next XCOF that we plan, our second phase, we're actually going to be in the entire global south. In 10 years, we want to be a global company. And what are we doing? We're actually providing research as a service. So finally, Apollo Global Innovation is well positioned to serve as academic startup funding navigator for Obafemi Awolowo University and other campuses where they have the footprint. I know this for sure, and I know the caliber of people on the board, but I think what we need to do is actually to have a serious discourse on how to support this our institution and capacitate them in such a way that the navigation can be easy for academic startup. There are models that we could actually leverage. Some of them I've mentioned partly today, but in a cohort system or for us to actually consult on this, definitely I think it's something that Apollo can deliver. The journey to stardom of OAU can begin now because you could actually make a difference. Like I spoke to them in Guinea 2 weeks ago. I said, it is right time that you're actually going to be the one that will be the star of the South-South. Why not? OAU has actually made some good names before, but you could actually make a better name. If you can change the narrative, you could actually imbibe system thinking, and we can change the way we're actually looking at our project and deliver on results. And you could actually rely on us at RIKSD to remain your worthy partner. I thank you so much for the opportunity. I think I've not exceeded my time too much, and I hope I've actually communicated. For any other thing that I might have missed out, kindly take my apologies. Otherwise, I think I would like to stop here to do justice to time. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you, Dr. Mustafa, your presentation. And I think as at when you concluded, we had 47, we still have 47 participants, listeners online. And I believe that your presentation must have caused a kind of reaction. And I want those reactions to be in form of questions. And then maybe contribution. So if you have any contribution, suggestion, question, then you can please indicate. Can you indicate, please? I can't see any hands up now. Well, let's say Okpolo Initiative. Dr. Mustafa, please be online, be on standby. He's presenting himself. Okpolo Initiative is presenting himself to us as a consultant. I don't know, at what cost, sir? maybe we need to know the cost. We need to know the implication of your presentation, of you presenting yourself to us as a consultant. At what cost? Yeah.
So is that a question?
Okay.
Is that a question to me or a discussion?
Yeah, that's a question to use that. At what cost? Before Professor Renike
Also,
comes in. Okay.
what do you say?
What's the cost?
Oh, okay.
You have to do
And
yourself to us
also,
as a consultant.
definitely it's going to be a function of the scope of work. So send your TOR, then I send you your bill.
Okay. Okay.
How about that? But really, I can tell you that I can tell you for sure that I can tell you for sure that actually we are after the impact, and I think actually that's not going to be a prohibitive something for us to deliver on the impact generally. What's important for us is impact now first.
Thank you. Yeah, Professor.
I think I have a question. I would like to invite Dr. to give a talk to us on stats and management of research endowment. So a few of us, the university has set up the board. I need the team to understand how to operate this. This is not a talk, but a lot of informal engagement. So we know what we can do. Kindly respond to this question at our hand. So I don't know, but I believe that that's a genuine question. I don't know the institution, but I think we could actually discuss. So see my details. You could actually get across to me. Let me understand the scope again. I don't want to commit to what I don't understand really, but again, I want to say clearly that endowment is critical, and we leverage it a lot in the US and other parts of the world for research. I've not been seeing professorial chairs in Nigeria. Why? Why? So we need to justify the use of this endowment fund. And I can tell you for sure, I'm more than happy to actually work with you on this. And let us see how we can take it further. I think Grace shared that with me. Grace, you can actually share the details, and then we will get talking on this in more specific terms, so that at least we will start bringing benefits to our society.
Okay, thank you.
Due to the rain in Calabar.
Let's ask people to ask the question.
Is that
people are willing to ask questions now, please? Yeah, Dimeji, can you unmute Professor Opong? Unmute Professor Opong, please. Yeah, I think you are on now, Professor Opong. Oh, she's still muted. Oh, sorry.
So, moderator, do you have much question? Do you have more question?
Yeah.
Or I can stop by?
People are willing to ask questions, please.
Okay.
Yeah,
and I can see that the numbers are actually increasing between two now.
Exactly. It's exciting.
So maybe you need to tell them to unmute so that they can speak to you.
Yeah, for Lion. Yeah, that's my executive director.
Yeah, thank you. They finally unmuted me. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for the brilliant lecture. So it's really, really brilliant. I'm sure you could see my name all over the place. It's because I sent out my link to invite people to listen to what this should be. I think for me, what you shared here is an overview, you're touching on like asking the why, but we're not hearing the how. The how is very critical. I do appreciate that the time is short, but I do not doubt that many universities understand the why. What is limiting us as universities is the how. How do we get this rolling? What does it mean to move this into the next phase beyond thinking, but making it practicable? So in the short time, maybe 2, 3, if you could just kind of say, in this university, you want to do this, 1, 2, 3. This is the beginning point. I think it will help. My head is really spinning about what does this mean to translate it into action. Thank you so much for the brilliant lecture. Looking forward to further engagement. Over.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you so much. And I think I have a slide that actually speak. Majority of my slide actually speak to how, but I think maybe because of the time, maybe I'm rushing over them. For example, I take you through what CARE is all about, and I take you through what the pentagonal nexus is all about, and what is actually different from what we used to know about triple helix and what we are doing differently. For example, to design a particular project that is going to end up as academic startup, I took us through this particular slide. And I know, yes, they are heavy weights, and they actually need time for you to actually understand what each and every one of them. But I can take, for example, like you mentioned, citizen research. In Uniben, what we said to them at University of Abuja and Uniben is to say, okay, so the essence of creating university around the world is that when you have a good functional university that is, that is standing firmly on the 3 strands of research for development, or RDI at this age, then is standing on teaching for learning, not teaching and learning, they are different. And finally is the community development. So let us now start. Universities are being established so that community can develop around them. Go to Starkville in Mississippi State in the US, go to Alabama, go to everywhere. Many of those cities were being developed around the university. Okay, so we have OAU today. What is the impact, direct impact of OAU in even if a North, if a South, and if a central local government on an annual basis? And what is the value of that engagement that they have had to say, we are a research-oriented institution, and this is how we are impacting the society, just to start with. Then OAU move forward to say, okay, I'm in Osun State. What is OAU doing directly to impact the economy, the social being, the social life people in Osun State? Now, based on NUC, the catchment area, why will people recognize that there's a need for me to take my problem to OAU for it to be solved? Why OAU is ready to make money out of it or create ventures or startup out of it? It's as simple as that. So when we sit down at our comfort zone and we actually want to move from success to significance, it's going to be a missing point. So the truth is that you cannot sit down and say, this is what I assume the topic should be. So, and definitely, the moment you are taking your citizens research, having an oath or an handshake with your impact design, definitely, you are going to be saying different, you're going to be saying things differently. What we are saying, in essence, is that our method of saying literature review, introduction literature review methodology, stuff like that, yes, it is traditional. It is what the university system talks about. But here, what Okolo is telling us is that we need to have academic startups. So for you to have an academic startup, the pipeline and the pathway are not going to be exactly the same thing going forward. So we are not just talking about rethinking it, it's about doing it. And we are not talking about something that has never been done somewhere else across the world, but we're actually looking at an hybrid knowledge that can be adaptive for Africa. So now, what do we need to do? We need to actually engage in citizen research. Again, I said that has its own arrangement, a framework altogether. That's my point. So we could actually do that, and I've mentioned how do we generate a platform. For us at RIKES, the part of what we are looking at is to say, okay, can we have national or continental problem statements that can actually be aggregated based on the concept of citizen research? So, and again, I've mentioned that all this problem must be solution fit. There's a pathway for that in incubation, in acceleration programs, for you to know how to convert to evaluate problem solution fits. So these are not things that we could actually take everything one by one on this call, but definitely it's something that require. For example, if you are talking about sandboxing and prototyping, a lot of people will tell you we have prototype, but SMEs and the business people and investors are not interested in prototype. Prototype cannot land you the first dollar. So you need an MVP. So the process of only converting from prototype to MVP is not a joke, but we don't understand it. So everything people will tell you in my lab, we have plenty of things. So what are you doing with those things? Is there anybody putting $1? Is there anybody putting a premium on what you are talking about? If no, then it's useless. And that is what we are changing. So I hope that that might have answered some of your questions. And I actually move into the funding models. All of them are very deep, for people in the space of finance, and my experience in managing or being a managing consultant, and at the same time working within the space of development finance for over 20 years, actually told me clearly that each of these are topic on their own, but we have a very short period. I hope this has actually helped, and somebody can see what endowment and alumni funding can do. So we can actually, there's no how about that. It's for us to look at these alumni, where are they? Can we actually have something that can be a stimulus that bring them back? So
thanks so much for this presentation, Dr. Mustafa Yokubola. People have been asking for your slide, and then if you can just make your slide available for us to send to people. Some people try to, connect, but because of the weather in their environment, they are not able to. So, and then your slide will be enough to, give them information that you have given today. So, we would like to entertain any other questions that may. If you have any questions, please can you come on, please? Okay. Professor Opong, are you still raising your hands? Professor Opong, are you still raising your hand? I can see your hand being raised. Any other question from anyone? No more question. So, Dr. Mustafa Bola, you may need to represent this at a later date. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, okay. I'm saying that
I can hear you.
Send that a little bit. Yeah, because of the number of people that were able to connect. So maybe we will have to reschedule to another time, and then you make a more comprehensive presentation that will sort of address some of those questions that have been asked, especially what Westropom said concerning the how. You understand? So maybe, well, if in the absence of any other question or contribution, we spent almost an hour now, and then we want to call it a day, and then ask you to look out for another presentation that will come up at a later date. So I want to thank everyone who are connected one way or the other. I want to thank the Opolo Global Initiative Limited for this opportunity, and then for this presentation, appreciation goes to Dr. Mustafa Yokubola. So thank you. See you next time.
Thank you so much, and have a blessed day. Bye for now. Thanks.
You too. Bye.